Oh, hello there. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's going to be session 31, and we're going to be working in Impact Soundwork straight ahead jazz horns again today. It's amazing what you can glean from taking the time to actually read the product manual. So I've been doing that and exploring some of the functionality of this thing more in depth, and still don't feel like I could put together like a proper plugin review video yet, but I'm kind of working towards that. I think that could be a good way to provide like an alternate direction for the channel. I don't want to get too much into tutorials and stuff because you guys know how I feel about my own abilities, and I'm just not really confident, you know, claiming to be an expert if I'm not. So, um, But anyways, I've learned a lot more about this, so I want to get to work today. I sat down yesterday morning to do some stuff and then just kind of got lost on what I wanted to work on. And I was so focused on the articulations that I forgot that there's a ton of other stuff we got to do to get these trumpets and, the horn section um, filled out, figured out. Um, so we're going to do it today. We're going to work on those other things. I've got a new MIDI controller. It's on the way. I didn't get the super cheap one locally, but I did get an Akai MPK 49 off eBay. Got a pretty decent deal, I feel like, well below half the price of what that normally is. So I'm excited for that to get here. The biggest thing I think I'm looking forward to is being able to map the articulations on my own to the drum pad section on that Akai, because it's actually got 12 pads, and we've got 15 articulations. One I don't really use, which is quarters, and then two of them are controlled by the pedal, which I also have on order. Just got a little cheap one off Amazon for now. Um, and That's 12. So legato and glissando are the pedal. That's one and two. I'll take the quarters off usually. Um, I probably will end up putting that back because I have something to say on that. And it just occurred to me that maybe that's the difference here. Um, I'll explain what I mean in just a sec. But yeah, you guys can count. Never mind. I'll explain it right now. Um, so I was reading an article, and I'll share some of these resources in the video description, so you guys can check them out too if you're working on this and you want to learn a little more in depth yourself. Um, I found some articles on big band jazz articulations and kind of rules for orchestrating these sections, and there are definitely rules. Um, which is, the one article I read said it's actually funny because jazz is known for like breaking rules, and yet there's these rules. So let me give you, for example, I haven't mastered all the rules. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but at least I found a resource for them, that I can uh, look to when I have a question about how one of these instruments should be performing. So let me give you an example of one of the rules. So in jazz, my chair's being a little squeaky. Sorry about that. In jazz, quarter notes are played short and eighth notes are played long. So it's a weird thing that has to do with the swing patterns that they employ and the breathing and tonguing techniques that they do. And one of the rules that I read was that quarter notes stop short and then you jump to the eighth note, and then the eighth note is played long, and that's where you can sometimes get a slur, or glissando or something into the next note. Um, and then there's also rules about how a professional musician would be reading your music. So this article was pretty cool because it showed the difference between what a horn player, how they would write their music out, for another player to play. Um, and how a non-playing composer might map them. And they have these little articulation symbols, little caret over the top, or a dash over the top of a note or something that tells the player how to sustain. Sometimes it'll tell them on this note you're gonna kind of come up like that. They have these little symbols, and they're often placed on the wrong note because the composer doesn't know these background rules that are affecting where the background rules are telling you information, or telling the studio player information, um, that doesn't need to be written down. So it's their initial guiding, uh, um, whatever, you get it. And then the articulation symbols add further guidance on how the part is supposed to be played to sound how the composer intended. So there's some things I'm trying to figure out the best way to catalog these rules that I learn and then have them available for me to reference, and even to share with you, in a hurry. So I've been keeping the manual open here for straight ahead jazz, but it doesn't have that sort of in-depth stuff. What it does have, and this is one of the things that was kind of crazy to me, I was like, what are all these colors down here on the keyboard? Well, these key ranges all have different intentions. Oops, sorry about that. So the red keys, CO to BO, switches articulations for all instruments in your ensemble. The blue keys is where you input chords with your left hand, and this is where the smart voicing comes in. So the plugin is supposedly able to, if our main chord in this song has been kind of a G sharp and maybe a G sharp sus7, that we use in the chorus. And if you play that chord with your left hand in the blue area, and I don't know why the blue area looks so small here, but sometimes in the past it has looked much bigger. So let me put this up here so you can see what I mean. Oh, it's not working. Well, in the manual that I'm looking at, the blue is much bigger and the red is small. But the blue, you play your chord, and then the smart voicing will pick up on the key that you're playing in, and it'll add background voices that fit your scale, and then fill out the sound. So that's awesome. It's something I haven't even begun to think about exploring yet, because I'm having some keyboard mapping issues. As I said before, I don't have C minus or even C0. My keyboard starts at C1, so I'm kind of on a limited area to work here. I just feel like there's some communication issues happening based on the fact that this is not intended to be a MIDI controller. This is a keyboard that you can plug MIDI, via a cable into. It's not USB plug and play. So just working on figuring that out, and we'll sort that out when we get the new controller. But today what I wanted to work on is some more just dynamic type stuff, vibratos, volume controls, and start to figure out that, so that later in the week when we get the keyboard controller, we're kind of already halfway there, and then we can just focus on the best way to write this stuff in the MIDI editor, and then the best, and that will include when you're intending to have a legato or glissando, how far you overlap into the next note, and so on and so forth. So, but today what we're going to do is we're going to work on automating some things to get these sounding a little more real. So let me just go through the interface here with you again. Alternate dynamic mode changes to like a filter effect for crossfading, I think. And it says when enabled, the instrument uses dynamic filters and EQ instead of crossfading your samples to produce different dynamic levels. This may sound more realistic for your production, so try it out. So we're going to do it. Sus phase align, sustained samples are switched to the phase align versions, and they will crossfade without phasing, and the timbre is slightly different. Extra dynamic filter, when enabled, a gentle low-pass filter is applied to the output linked to the dynamic slider. Use this to further emphasize dynamic transitions. So, we know what ADSR is. We can understand what volume and pan is. Dynamics is kind of your volume and stuff here. So that was taking me forever to find out yesterday. And then your vibrato is automatically at 0, but we can turn it all the way up. And we can come into the advanced tab. We can set the max depth of the vibrato, which is, I think, how many steps or notes it goes away from the target note. And then the frequency. So you'll set the frequency to something that kind of fits the tempo of the song. That'll be great. Mono fade time. What's that? Mono fade time. Time it takes for a note to be faded out in the absence of a legato or glissando transition. So legato is a smooth transition, kind of a slide between two notes, and glissando is kind of a like a flourish up. So you kind of play the scale up, I guess. So then we have legato length, legato crossfade time. That's easy to understand. Auto legato sounded like something I wanted to keep on. So your transitions will only happen shortly before the beat. So the transition is set to arrive at the beat. When playing off the beat, legato will not trigger those. So that sounds one that you got to be careful with, especially if you're, I don't know when they say off the beat, if that's meaning something differently than I'm taking it. What I'm taking it as is like, if you're not hitting right on the grid, then it's not going to work, which we aren't because we don't want things to be too perfect here. So that's to be determined still. The leap accent sounded like something I wanted on. Adds an extra accent to the destination note when playing legato. Release triggers, toggles release samples on or off. Still a little unsure about what that is. Purge unused takes away the samples that the plugin is having to load when you have one of these microphones off. So you have two different microphone options. You can turn them both on. You could see it load there. So it's off now. We have purge unused on, so it's taking those away. Now watch, if I click this, it's loading all those samples back in. So I'm actually going to take purge unused off because we're going to use both mics. The temp attack KS is for when you play attack articulations. By switching this on, it makes it so that the triggered articulation, the triggered attack, only applies to the very next note that you play and nothing else. So I think I'm going to keep that off for now because at this point, if I have something like that happen, I want to hear it playing over and over so that number one, I can hear how it'll sound on other notes, and number two, I don't overlook it as if like nothing is happening. I just want to, I'll know when it starts, so I'll know when it was initially triggered, and then it'll give me a few extra chances to make sure that I'm hearing that articulation happening on hopefully just the first note there that were the target note, but then also the notes after. So that's just a little strategy. Your round robins goes sequential or random. That never triggers two samples twice, so that's easy to understand. So yeah, so that's kind of the interface there. It's got the FX we talked about, EQ, compressors based on the SSL. The reverb takes up a lot of CPU apparently, so beware of that. And we're not going to mess with any delay or anything right now anyways, because we're going to try to get these as real as possible before we even start thinking about that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, so let's get into it now that I told myself I'm just going to jump right in and start working today. And now it's been 15 minutes and you haven't heard a note. You've just listened to me talk. So let's get in there and let's do some music. Make it happen. So in the contact player, you got your libraries here. We're going to come over to automation. I'm going to grab this first one here, dynamics. I'll put it there. The second one, we're going to put on vibrato. I don't think we're gonna put this is a U47 mic, RCA 44. So we're gonna keep those mics the same volume until we decide which we want to work with, or until we decide a better blending pattern. Extra dynamic filter will turn on. Alternate dynamic mode we're gonna keep on, and then the phase align. I guess that sounds okay to have on. And then you'll see this switch as you key trigger these different articulations. So, what I was saying earlier though, and I'm not sure I finished my thought. So I'm excited about the keyboard controller only because I can map the articulation changes to the drum pads instead, and then open up the keyboard for other functions because it's only a 49 key. So, and one last thing. Two things. Your trumpet is often the lead instrument when you're working on big band brass arrangements like this, pop horns. Follow the lead of the trumpet. The really nice thing about this is your other instruments, your other players would follow the lead trumpet player's articulations lead as well. So we can mute, that's why I have these muted right now, our alternate instruments, because we're going to be able to kind of copy and paste some things in there. And we don't have to do this for 4 separate instruments. We don't have to go through and try to figure out the best articulation for every note, because once we figure it out on the trumpet, the other people would follow along to that. Big band arrangements often contain 4 instruments. So you're often hearing 2 trumpet players, or a trumpet and an alto sax, and then like a tenor sax, and then a trombone. That's like a common arrangement apparently. The other thing that I read is when you're thinking about these, and this is something I was doing wrong, so this is something that we're going to correct today. As you're building these compositions out, you want to think in terms of the octave differences between the instruments and where they can play and where their comfort level is, because only the very best players can get lots of octave space out of their instruments, like can go up one and down one. A lot of people can only play in 1 octave apparently, which only gives you 1 note. For us, in my formerly, the way I was looking at it, it was causing a problem for me, because in my head I'm hearing dun 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 dun, and I was feeling frustrated that I didn't have the octave range to bring that to life. The problem is that you don't want your trumpet screaming way high, like 2 or 3 octaves up for your trombone necessarily. It's not realistic in the way that they would do it, and it takes away from the thickness that you're going for, in terms of having 4 players. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So we're going to start with the lead trumpet, and we're going to focus on this first phrase here. And what I want to do is get a crescendo going on the long notes. And we're going to use the dynamics automation to do that. And then we might even put some vibrato on those notes and affect the vibrato as well. So let's... turn it down just a little. Oh, it's clipping so bad. Kind of annoying. Just take this off. Pull this down. That's probably because I have the dynamics all the way up. Yep, that was it. Okay. Okay, so -6 is a good starting point because that gives us room to move the dynamics fader up and down without going into clipping. So if we were going to automate that, add remove parameter. So there's a couple ways to do it. You can do it from the edit window, like by pressing A, and then going into the drop-down menu, add parameter. And then it's just as simple as adding dynamics, add vibrato, close. Okay. You can also do that if you're just in the plugin window by going up here where the read is, add remove parameters, and it'll have those as well. The only reason they're not listed is because I've already put them in. So the way I've been hearing it in my head is these first two notes, when we do the articulations, they're going to play staccato or staccatissimo, and they're going to be burp, burp, burp. So we're going to add a dynamics change right here on this first note. And I think the way that I don't know if you want it to just start low right at the attack, or if you want it to kind of come through just a little bit and then drop down. So that's one way. The way we have it pictured right now, where the attack is retained just a tad, it would be so you'd still hear that initial attack, and then it's going to drop down and come back in. So let's hear if that did anything. So I didn't hear like... See, I'm not hearing the volume change. I could have sworn that was... Maybe you need to do kind of a combination of volume and dynamics. I don't know. We'll put another parameter on the volume here and add that in. And you know, I might need to amend what I said about the dynamics switch here. I thought that was gonna control volume because there's really no other way. The dynamic level of the instrument. Let's just see. The dynamic levels. Dynamics means the varying intensities of sound throughout a given musical composition. Piano, mezzo-piano, fortepiano. So those should be kind of quiet and soft, I would have thought, but that's okay. We'll figure it out here. Let's add volume in. I'll just kind of copy that to there. Oops. See what we can get out of, like if we put that there, and then we come into the articulation. So I might abandon this right away because I don't want to go down this road of getting frustrated with these articulation changes at the moment until I can really have 100% control over them as I want. But for the sake of just trying something, let's turn this to key switch and make it C#1 because we're replacing the quarters there. And then up, take that off, KS, C1. So now, if I played a C#1, right here, yes, we did it. There we go. We triggered the glissando. Now, that's cool, man. So if I was to change, this is the stuff I'm really excited to show you guys is as I start to figure this out. I think this is going to be very helpful for someone out there in the world. So as I start to change this, how does it affect it? Here's what I'm interested in changing right there. So I didn't hear much change by lengthening that overlap. Let's okay, and then on that note, I'm hearing like a fall or something. Bum, bum. Maybe. fall is on E1, DE. So let's see if that did anything. Did not. Maybe it needs to start. So maybe that's not the right fall. So there's got to be a way to kind of do that. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, a long fall. Okay, so actually let's go up to G sharp 1. Try that. Okay. I think that fall can start right there. Okay. So that's it's a little something there. So I know that these notes need to be, since this automation is kind of working right now, let's stick with it. So we got to figure that out. That doesn't sound real at all. I could picture, now it's also one of those things where I feel like you could hear one of those rules coming in about how to slur a little phrase like this, how a player would actually do it. But there's no quarter note here. They're all 8th notes. And you're only dropping 1 half step, so there wouldn't be a glissando because you're just dropping a half step, right? And I don't know what type of, I mean, we can try to affect the dynamic level and see what happens. Maybe if we just did sort of a ramp up. Oops. So maybe they need to be more like staccato. So a trumpet player, I need to reread this a couple more times to really have it down, but a trumpet player has their tongue on the roof of their mouth and then releases it. And then so it's kind of, you could imagine their tongue slapping to get those out. So maybe it's more of a staccato type sound to get it right. So, and then I noticed the dynamics are working there. So I wonder if they affect at the start of the sample, it changes it, but not in the middle, like once you've started the sample, it doesn't do it. I wonder if that's the case. And then I suppose you can achieve staccato probably by just doing this, right? Let's try putting it back on. So that last note needs to be short. And I wonder if a staccato on the last one. I think that's better. It's sharper. So maybe we could put like, find one of these to put like a glissando on. It's like one of the things I can't stand is how far I have to scroll down the piano roll to edit these with these way up here. So I feel like it would be a legato here. Like it would kind of slur up into that first note. And then maybe like a glissando would come on this phrase here from the G sharp down to the D sharp. But then back to staccato for this. This is a really big rise there. That might be too big for a glissando. Or maybe a can Oh, okay, so that's interesting. I don't think it's that. I feel like it would be like it would slur into the first one, bun, bun, and then it could slur down. Hmm. And maybe maybe the staccato can't come after a glissando. Maybe it like neutralizes it. Very strange. So there's just a few things like that that in terms of the articulations that I still got to figure out how to place these. Because I expected to be able to get this one to staccato and then this one to glissando down back to a staccato. But it's having a little trouble recognizing that, and I'm not sure why. And then the dynamics, I'm really not sure what is happening, what the dynamics fader is doing here. So I'll just Oh, we lost our fall there somehow. Was it a G sharp? Hey, what happened? Hmm. So I feel like I want just a little bit of reverb on here, just so I can start to imagine this trumpet playing in a space. I'll just go to the little plate. Nothing fancy right now, just a little something. Do like to hear the vibrato a little less here. And kind of building on those longer notes. And then one note is too long there for sure. Oh, that's a baritone sax. I actually like the So I kind of like the first note being staccato, the second one staccatissimo, and then the third one is that kind of swell. so let's go to libraries and let's add in a second trumpet here. Okay. And the second trumpet's tuning is a little bit different. That's good. Just make the same changes to articulations there. I guess we could actually do it. Let's do no. Let's double this whole track. Duplicate track complete. Let's change the second one to trumpet 2. Leap accents on. Vibrato frequency was more like, oh, that might have stayed the same. Turn that on. KS, C sharp, C1, pedal. Turn the quarters off. Clearly we have some automation happening on this horn channel that's got to go. Yep, that's what happened. Oh, the fall's back. Great. It's a little long. So that's the Cautissimo right there on the end was much more trumpety, realistic. That sharp, because it was formerly like this. And it kind of had like a sustain on the end there. This is much more realistic to me. Kind of snaps back up. makes me think that maybe the last note of this one would work like that too. Well, we're at an hour, so let's call it there for today, just so that the session doesn't get too long. Didn't get like a ton done in the song, but I felt like we went over a lot, so hopefully this becomes a good video for other people new to straight ahead jazz horns. And again, I think in time I'll record something that's a little more like all inclusive on the details of this new plugin, with a little less time of me working specifically right here and then talking about other stuff too. So it'll be just a little bit more straightforward of a tutorial episode. Part of my yawn. And yeah, we'll jump back in as soon as I can get back to the computer again. And we'll jump back in and keep going on this. So I hope you guys have a great day. And we'll see you back soon for another session. If you enjoyed this one and you want to continue to follow along as we work to finish the song Rumination, go ahead, like and subscribe to the video and the channel, and you'll get those updates as soon as I upload the next video. Appreciate you guys so much. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you soon.